Hello. Today we're going to be comparing the LWRCi to the LMT for the 5.56, 300 blackout, that size lowers. To start with, I bought them both used, but with no rounds through them. They were both set up at one point though. The LWRC is completely stock. This is the buffer and buffer spring that it came with. Came with an H2 buffer, and you can see the spring's a little longer than what the LMT came with. The LMT is not completely stock, has a Knight's armament 2-stage trigger and the Magpul K2 Plus grip. The LWRC K2 Plus was what came with this at the time. They now come with their own grip that's pretty nice, but this is a little older model. I wear a size medium glove, so I have small hands compared to most people. And I'm going to show you how they're set up the same but different, and a little bit of the nuances between the two. So we'll take these out of the way. We're going to ignore the SBA 3 braces for now due to the pending legislation, not legislation, the pending ATF rule change that hit us all. So I'll start with saying that this one, the LWRC, is my favorite of the two. And I say that as a longtime LMT owner, but it just fits better overall. And I like the controls just a little bit better. I'll also say that when I bought it, the castle nut had already been taken off, so we can't tell how good it may or may not have been staked because that's been taken off. So I'd like to show you just this angle here. As you can see, that fits fairly flush. On the LMT, it's just a little further back, so we got a little bit different angle. These are both in the first position. So start back to front. The LMT The LMT buffer tube is just a little bit smaller around than the LWRCi. And I believe there's a commercial military thing with different sizes, but when I put my calipers on them, I honestly didn't notice as big a difference as is supposed to be between the two. So the other thing I will tell you is a big difference between the two. For some people that care about slop in their upper and lower, is the LWRC comes with a little pad in there, and that keeps it a little tighter. I've taken that pad out, and I've got 3 or 4 different uppers I can put in here, and between the two, they fit each of them about the same. Not enough difference to call it a difference if there is one. So both built about to the same spec, close enough anyway. As of now, these both do have, I don't know, a couple hundred rounds through each of them, maybe a little less than that on the LMT. So I want to show you, I'm a left-handed shooter because I'm left eye dominant, so I shoot long guns left-handed. And what I want to start with is my biggest gripe, and that's the mag release is a little harder to reach here, and it's a lot harder to press down. I've got to give it some pretty good pushing to get that to release. So here's a Lancer 5 mag, and it'll fall free, I just had it at a bad angle. Conversely, you can see on this one, super easy. And again, they'll fall free, it's just the angle. So for me, I can hit that infinitely easier. Infinitely is a bad word. Slightly easier than this one. This one's a lot harder. I can do it, but it's tougher to push, just the way they have the mechanisms in here. As far as the safeties go, I'm used to having an issued firearm that just had a single side. Nothing was ambidextrous on it. So I'm doing this to switch my safety and fire instead of using the thumb on the other side still, just out of habit. Both of them are pretty smooth to do. The LWRC clicks in a little harder. You can hear it. It's a little louder and it feels just a little more firm on the clicks. These are pretty much the same. The biggest difference is the LMT has this big pad, whereas the LWRC just has this little pad here. But they both use a camming system that just lifts up the bolt lock. And then from this side, this has a small one, and this has a small one. Now, here's where this mag release on the left side that is harder to hit because that's right there. It's not hard enough to hit to matter though, especially if you're just gonna hit it on the right side. This one, free and clear, nothing around it to stop. So that's better on the LMT for your bolt lock. Right side, mag release is actually just a little easier on the LMT. For our plates, you can see the LMT has a sling QD point. LWRC sells one that's got quick detach on both sides, but it is like $70, I think, and didn't come with this setup. As far as trigger guards, this one has a plastic or polymer. The LWRC is polymer, but it's nice and big, doesn't have any problems. The LMT is aluminum, and as you can see, it's much bigger. And the LMT is easier to push the button to swing it down for if you really have the big gloves on. This one doesn't actually have a push button. It looks like a screw that they put in there. So, like the LMT a little bit better, but there's nothing wrong with the LWRCi. One of the last things we'll look at is the mag well. You can see the LMT is flared quite a bit more. Put that up where you can see. The LWRCi is flared, but not to the degree that the LMT is. I've got several different mags here. Troy Battle Mag, a D&H aluminum mag with Magpul follower, Hex Mag version 2, and 2 P mags, a generation 2 and a generation 3. And between the two, oh, and I'm sorry, the Lancer also, which that's for a 300 blackout. The others are 5.56. Between all the mags, they all fit just a little different between the two lowers. One might be a little looser or tighter, but neither one is very much. There's the Lancer. About the same on that one. Hex mag, a little tighter than the Lancer. That tighter in there too, but more loose in the LWRCi than the LMT. Gen 2 P mag, pretty tight in the LWRCi. Pretty tight in the LMT, but feels a little looser than the LWRCi, which is the opposite of the Hex mag. So a little interesting there. P mag Gen 3, fairly loose. Fairly loose, Feels about the same in both. D&H aluminum mag, fairly loose. Little looser it feels like. And the Troy Battle Mag. Now this is about a 10-year-old Troy Battle Mag, so I don't know if that makes a difference. Little looser in the LWRCi. So I think it just really depends on what all's happening up here. As you can see, they both have just slightly different, but very close. Looking at the flared mag wells. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I do try to monitor stuff. And if you have any video requests of something that I've got, I'd be happy to do a review or show a video on it. Just to show, I do have an old LMT. This is from about 2012. And this has the Ergo brand grip that's branded LMT. This is what should be on the LMT AR pistol lower I have right there. And it's a single side safety, non-ambi, old school. Yes, I have a Sightmark Ultra Shot because that's what we were issued. And shockingly, that $150 sight held up for the 10 years it was issued to me. And it's been excellent. Never lost a zero. Best bang for buck I've ever seen. Now, we were a small agency of like 25, and we had about 15 of these. We did have one show up dead on arrival, but beyond that, it's been pretty bulletproof. And the replacement they sent was good to go. So with this, you can see it's got a good staked castle nut. But other than that, just wanted to show you the grip. And we can look at the bottom here. This is not the enhanced LMT trigger guard. It's the standard. So this is the enhanced, and this is the standard, if you see a difference there. And then looking at the magwell, you see huge difference in the 10 years between manufacturing. Even the LWRCi is flared a lot more than the old LMT. Talk about the trigger real fast. The LWRCi is a military spec combat trigger. It's fairly heavy, but it is very smooth. It's a single stage, and it has a very clean break. It's one of the better single stages I felt in my very limited AR experience. Like I say, my issued AR was a, well, now it'd be, it was a 2001 or 2002 Bushmaster SBR, and the trigger on that was horrendous, but I put thousands and thousands of rounds through it and it was still horrendous. This one came out of the box much better. The Knights Armament 2 stage is, I would say, a small step up from the old LMT 2 stage that was on the old rifle I just had out. The Knights definitely clean, it has a cleaner break on the second stage than the old LMT, but if it's been, you know, say I leave that one in the safe for a couple of months and shoot this one and then go back and forth, it's not a big difference if there's been time between shooting them. If you shoot them back to back, the second stage is much cleaner on the Knights, but not enough to matter, not enough for the price premium. This came with it, so that was a win for me. All right, thank you. One thing I forgot to show you, The LWRC is on the left. You can see that the buffer tube goes up to the pin. On the right is the LMT. You can see their buffer tube has that extra bit jutting out. And on this one, it doesn't do much to stop that pen from coming up. It does block it, but there's just not much meat on there. And I don't think it's got another whole revolution and still let that pen come up, but I ought to try it because it does look like maybe we have a little bit more of the threads on the back, but that is where it's factory staked. So one of the things I forgot to show you.